All right, let's go to line 3 now and speak to Mr. Andrew Parsons, the Liberal MHA for Burgeo and Boyle.
Good evening, Pete.
How's it going?
Boy, I've had better days. I've had better days. I've spent most of my night talking to constituents that just got their jobs cut today. So it's been a tough evening talking to friends and people I've got to know who just found out today that they're no longer required.
And they are in what fields or which departments? What kind of jobs are we talking about?
I'm trying to think. I've got people that were cut today with the ABE program, people that were cut that were conservation officers, probation officers, crown attorneys. There's a lot of people, and it's stretched over all the backgrounds. I mean, it started first thing this morning. I was at a diabetes breakfast and talking to a woman there who of Eastern Health, she was going to get cut. Mm-hmm. And so it started then, and we've been at it all day, and it's trickling down now. I mean, it was dropped yesterday, but now we're just seeing the results, and people are just finding out, and it's just tough, and it's frustrating. I'm pissed off with just the way this has happened.
How does it roll out exactly? Is it all different depending on which position they're in, how quickly it happens, and how it happens?
Yep. From what I understand, I just talked to one gentleman, he gets 30 days notice. He's in the Department of Justice because he's only been there 24 years. Uh-huh. Another gentleman got 10 days notice because he's only been temporary for two years, I believe it is.
Really? 10 days notice?
10 days notice. And they found out today, they just got a letter said your job is abolished, effective immediately. So in this case, I'm just looking at the Burgeo area. Now they have absolutely no wildlife conservation enforcement whatsoever of any kind. And, it's just a complete, shock to rural Newfoundland and Labrador. And I mean, the fact is nobody's been ignored here because the metro region has taken their hits too. But right now, when I just look at that area, just seeing these jobs gone now, these people that have no choice but to move, they're too young to retire, they've got to move, and there's going to be a lot of bumping going on. The ripples are going to go through the system for some time. Yeah,
this is the thing too. All of this bumping and moving around, people really don't know how far down the line it goes. That's going to take some time to sort out, and it's going to surprise a lot of people who assume that they're perhaps okay when it turns out in the end they're not. And I assume, if you have a large area like that you're talking about with no wildlife conservation officer, how many people are out there silently grinning to themselves thinking that the good days for them are back again because there's really, few checks and balances?
There's no deterrence here now. There's absolutely no deterrence. I mean, you look just at the Department of Justice. Number one, they just made this very good announcement of $1 million when it comes to child exploitation, and you've got this partnership, the RNC and RCMP. But at the same time, you're cutting lawyers, you're cutting crown attorneys and legal aid. Do you think that's not going to shag up the system?
Boy, like I said, it's making it easier for an awful lot of people, and the little hesitation they may have had perhaps got a little less.
And people, it's easy to get frustrated with the justice system. I know full well. I mean, I was involved in it, not for a very long period, but I was involved in it. People get frustrated with it, but now to know that, and I've seen some interviews on TV tonight with some defense attorneys. I mean, the fact is that they're probably going to stop prosecuting certain types of offenses. To do this, and how does that help you? When they say they're charting a new course in justice, well, I tell you what, I'm wondering what kind of course that is, because it seems like it's going downwards. It's the only way it's going. But then you go to this conservation where we've had huge cuts. I mean, how does this do anything for deterrence or for our environment?
Yeah, it's a little hard to take the line that you hear pretty much almost every time somebody from the government talks about the cuts in their department. They say, yeah, but it's going to be more efficient. It's going to be better. It's going to be even better now that we're cutting out this money. So, and there's sort of this philosophy that, the more you cut, the better it gets, so that if you really had zero budget, you would be in utopia.
Well, and this is the thing. I mean, this really kicked me off today when the Premier stood up in question period and said, I'm proud of our budget. I'm proud of it. How can you be proud of this? How can you be proud of the mismanagement that's led to these cuts and people getting their jobs cut and sit up and applaud yourself and pat yourself on the back for doing this? I mean, they should be ashamed of themselves for doing this. Now, I will give the Minister of Finance, I mean, he had a tough job there, and again, when he spoke, he talked about trying to respect these people, but you're seeing some of these other ones patting themselves and saying, great investments in health, great investments in education. You just cut. All you did was cut there. You had no plan whatsoever. You've got this deficit here that, it's only $500 million. I mean, how should we have any confidence whatsoever in your ability to govern? And there's a lot of people out there now are wondering what they're going to be doing in 30 days because they've got to go find a job. They don't want to hear about this booming economy. They're out of work. Mm-hmm. And I'm just ticked off when they stand up and pat themselves on the back and think they did the great thing here and the right thing, and they're tweeting and talking about, we're making the right choices. I just really, really frustrated at this, and I mean, there's so many things. The thing is, there's a lot of issues to talk about here. We can look at the Department of Advanced Education now. They tried to pull fast one today and drop Mr. Noseworthy's report on us, the day after the budget.
Yeah, Mr. Parsons, if I could just jump in for a second. Beyond, why we ended up in this situation, let's just leave that for a second. Given our situation, our current situation, really, was there much else that could be done? I mean, was it just not a matter of this or that? Cuts had to be made, savings had to be found. Really, was there any way around what we're seeing now?
Well, and that's the thing. I think that they've created a situation where cuts probably became inevitable. But, this is a crowd that every day in and day out, they've blamed, oh, my God, we're trying to pick up the pieces of a province that we took over in 2003. But, I mean, everybody knows that's foolishness. I mean, that's just... Okay, they're the ones that built the situation we have here now, and they had to take the responsibility for it. So yes, if there's cuts here, maybe there was no way around it. I mean, there was only a few options here, but to create the situation and then try to blame it on everybody else and say, well, we've got to cut, but this is because of other people's problems. No, this is a problem of their own creation, a mess of their own creation. But the other thing, and I know, this wouldn't add up to we've got a huge deficit, and what I'm talking about is not huge amounts. But when you see the wastage that's gone on, 400,000 in muskrat advertising, 16,000 for a muskrat tea party. When we talk about all the parliamentary secretaries that they've hired on, I mean, that money can go to places like the Coalition of Disabilities to pay their rent. But no, we need more senior managers. When they pay Mr. Noseworthy $150,000 to do what Minister Shea should have done herself, basically to pay him a minister's salary to tell us that the department's a shambles. Well, the minister should have done that. All this money adds up, and it could have meant less people getting cut.
Okay, sir. We're going to have to leave it there, but I appreciate it, and no doubt we'll be hearing more now as the follow continues.
And I will say, and now obviously, I'm frustrated, but I will say, if there was one maybe bright moment in a otherwise pretty bad day for this province, it was an opportunity to see Yvonne Jones in the House of Assembly for the last time. And I just say before we go that, I'm very happy to have sat next to Yvonne for the short period of time that I did, and I'm certain that we're all going to miss her in the House of Assembly. She's certainly a great friend and a great person.
No doubt. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Pete.
Appreciate it.
Take care.